Okay, so in tonight's daily update, I want to go over the Bitcoin weekly chart to start out with. And so what I'm looking at is when we had this big entire move, the 200 and the 233 became support. Coming up, and again, this is a weekly chart. When we came up, the 50 EMA was resistance, 10 crossed the 20, and once those broke through the 50, you can see what kind of move it makes, right? It came back and the 10 held each time as support. So, once you start breaking this down and then you get the 10 crossing the 20 on the flip side, leads to more down. We eventually came back and tested this support zone, and now we're getting the 10 crossing the 50, okay? And possibly crossing through the 20 EMA. If that's going to happen, then bulls want to see, and I'm going to zoom in a little bit so you can see, bulls want to see this area hold, right? Around 8196, 8200. That would be a bullish area to hold. If that happens, then we're more than likely, again, as said, we'll probably maybe come up and test that 9500 area, and eventually at some point, get up and test this downtrend line. Stochastic RSI, I got a trend line on it as well. Held that, coming up close to overbought range. We'll see if it pulls back and maybe retest this trend line. If that does, it's going to bring it back down and again test the 8100 area, possibly even 7800. So we're going to keep an eye on that. The whole pattern itself looks fairly bullish to me. Some people have drawn like a wedge in here and it's broken out of that. So we'll see what happens. Just keep an eye on it. Let's switch back over and let's go to a daily chart real quick. And I'll flip this over just real quick. And on the daily chart, we can see what's happening here. And this may lead to the theory that this goes down to this bigger support area, okay? Or, again, it's the 38.2. But anyway, you had a reversal stick pattern up here. Coming down, it did a nice job today of holding this support, and it did not close. It doesn't look like it closed below the 10 EMA. But still, the thinking is that it possibly comes down and tests this 20 EMA. That would be bullish. Super bullish would be holding the 50 EMA. So we'll see what happens there. Let's go over to Ethereum. Ethereum basically hit the 200-day moving average and rejected it. Very close to this fib cluster here. We talked about that last night. Next support area is down in here at 158 to 155. That would also coincide with where the 20-day moving average is, right there. We'll see what Ethereum does. If it can manage to break that 200-day moving average and the fib cluster, you still have more resistance up here at the 233 at 193, and then eventually testing the $200 mark. So that's Ethereum. Let's go over to Litecoin. And pretty much like we've been talking about, until it breaks this major resistance zone, it's basically just, I think, a range trading type of coin. Had a nice move back here, but only got into resistance. Sold off. Had a nice move here, similar to this, but again, into resistance at the 200-day moving average and this old area of support, which is now resistance. So let's keep an eye on Litecoin. Still could pull further back. Let's go over to XRP. Talked about this one the other day, and we hit the 23.6 from a longer term fib retracement. Pulled back off it, very close to the 200-day moving average, so not surprising. And price was outside Bollinger Bands. Pulling back in, but we got this uptrend line right here. And these moving averages are trying to curl, so the bulls really, really need to hold this area. Right around 22.5 is what I would call it. If it breaks that, then you're more than likely looking at something different, and for the bulls, hopefully holding this little area right in here at 22, but it could eventually drop all the way to 20 and then 19. That is XRP. Let's move over to DGB. Very strange pattern here. A lot of indecision is what I'm calling it. But doing fairly nice job of like holding after this big move here, and just kind of some people, if you draw instead of wicks and stuff like that, if you use to do line chart, let's switch over and take a look at it. You can kind of see what's going on, on a line chart, right? So holding this support in here, we'll see what happens. Again, has to get past and close preferably above 83 to 85 sats. Close above that, and then you got a chance to take out this downtrend line right here. And the 200-day moving average. If not, maybe a test of it for sure, but we'll see. XTZ, this one was on fire today. Held support down in here, hit the 50 EMA, bounced right off of it hard, and then is outside Bollinger Bands, right? So we've seen this before back here. Price was outside, and you see what happens in the next 3 days, right? It just pulls back in and then takes off again. So let's see if this is another 3-day pattern where it pulls back in and maybe holds the 153, maybe 150 to 153 area, and then makes another move to try to retest the 78.6 and maybe make new highs. That's XTZ. ZRX. Did not really like this fib cluster at all. Pulling back, I would call it a normal retracement. You do have a bearish engulfing up here, dropping back down. Now it's retesting the 200-day moving average. If that holds, then a chance for it to break through and get past that fib cluster and maybe even come up and test, 28 cents, almost 28. That's a ZRX. Let's go over to BAT. Again, kind of a, I don't know if I would call that a bull flag or not. It's kind of a mess up in here. But again, it got past this area right over here. Was wanting to see that hold as support, but it broke below, and now it's trying to get back above, but doing a nice job of holding this 200 to 233-day moving average. If it can do this and go sideways for a little bit, it has a chance to really run. So we'll watch that one closely as well. Let's go to Link. Link hit the 78.6 retracement, which is a typical area to reverse off of and retrace. It did back down to the 23.6 and then starts to take off a little bit. As long as it holds this 10 EMA right here, which it's done since it crossed. There's that 10 and 20 cross. You can see it held right there, held here, still holding. So any kind of a retrace, if you're wanting to be a dip buyer, look at the 10 EMA. Okay, this thing could drop all the way back down to, let's call it 258 and still be bullish. And then potentially come up and retest the highs. So until this area is broke, then it stays on the bullish side. So anyway, that's pretty much what I've got for tonight. I'll probably cover some other stuff tomorrow. But thanks again, and we'll talk soon.